What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be going over my very own team selection for the upcoming Game Week 1. So yes, it's the big one, counting down the days. When you guys are watching this video, I think about 50 hours to that Game Week 1 deadline. So it's time to get hyped. Let me know in the comments down below, what rank are you guys aiming for this upcoming FPL season? What rank would you guys be happy with? Obviously, always aiming to finish as high as possible, but to be honest, a top 10k finish for myself would be quite nice. That would add on to the good ranks you guys see at the bottom of the screen. That'll be 4 top 10k finishes in the last 6 seasons, which isn't too shabby. But it's time for the big video, the team selection for the upcoming Game Week 1. I'll be going over my latest draft or my latest team as possible, going through the price points and the fixtures, and show you guys my latest decisions. So that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Use Fantasy Football Fix to help win your mini leagues. Their new Elite XI tool helps you track the world's best managers live, giving you access to the minds of some of the best managers in the world with over 80 top 10k finishes. You'll get game week by game week analysis of their teams, as well as instant team change push notifications from their app, available on iOS as well as Android. Get started now for free using the link in the description and get free access to the Game Week 1 deadline. So the first talking point I just want to go over is going to be about the deadline stream. I'll be doing a deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline. Reminder, it's going to be on Friday evening if you guys are based in the UK time zone. So 1 hour before the deadline, maybe 2 hours if there's enough of you guys wanting a 2-hour stream, where I'll be going over my final actual team selection. Now there's going to be a big thing about the deadline stream that might make it a little bit spicy. It's the fact that we do have Man City kicking off away to Burnley in the first game, and there might be a strong chance we actually get early team sheets. So that might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. We discussed this in the video yesterday that just because you don't own Foden now, if you see him starting against Burnley, which I expect him to, there might be a few FPL managers actually wanting to bring him into the team. So this might help or hinder your FPL team, but what I would suggest is make those player choices a day before. Yes, if we get some injury information or new information, you can act on them, but I wouldn't be making any changes to my team a couple of minutes before the deadline. But hopefully I do see you guys over on the deadline stream. I'll always post on Twitter when I do go live. Otherwise, turn those YouTube bell notifications on for this channel. Then you guys get a notification when I do go live. So as I said, hopefully I see you guys there. I think it's going to be an absolute banger. But now let's go on to the actual team selection. Before we get into the actual players in the selection, I want to give a shout out to you YouTube members. If you guys do want to become a YouTube member and support the channel, that's always appreciated. And Legend members do get access to my transfer plan and team throughout the season. Added to that, exclusive channels on my Discord server where you guys can talk to me one-on-one. But don't worry, if you guys don't want to become a member, there are still free channels over my Discord server, and I do generally reply to every YouTube comment. While you're at it, you can also follow me as mentioned at Dayvy FPL, as I post notifications whenever I release a video or do go live. But getting the kind of self-promotion out the way, all links in the description, let's go on to the actual team, and as you guys can see, 0.0 million in the bank. So every bit of money has been squeezed into the starting 11, the bench is going to be pretty cheap, so the starting 11 looks absolutely stacked. Now I won't lie to you, there are 2 scenarios currently going through my head in terms of my drafts. The first draft is going to be the one that I released a few days ago. That video is titled My Final Draft, and that only had 1 premium. I'm talking about Erling Haaland, next to him was Ollie Watkins, the midfield was absolutely stacked with more kind of mid-range options, and I had Edison between the sticks. So that draft in my opinion is a pretty safe draft. Seems like it might be kind of reflective of the template in the FPL community, but the drafts I'm going to show you in this video are going to be with 2 premiums. So yes, I'm talking about Harry Kane, I'm talking about Mo Salah, so these drafts are going to incorporate both those players, but not at the same time. You guys will see what I'm talking about when I go through the actual team selection, but this is going to be the second scenario that I might go with. The reason for this is over the last couple of days, we've had confirmation that Harry Kane might actually stay at Spurs. He basically came out and said in reports that as soon as the season does begin, which is Friday, if the bid hasn't been confirmed by then, he's going to stay in the Premier League. So what we can kind of assume is that if you don't get any concrete news about Harry Kane departing Spurs before the Game Week 1 deadline, he's going to remain at the club. So that was quite big news because I think we've kind of been overlooking Harry Kane throughout the preseason because there was this uncertainty of a potential move away from the Premier League. But now that's basically been confirmed that if it doesn't happen by Friday, he's going to remain at the club. We can now pay him the attention that he deserves. That attention comes after an almost record-breaking season for Harry Kane, outscoring Mo Salah by about 30 points and even keeping up with Erling Haaland on his record-breaking season. So that's why I said attention that's quite well deserved, and if he can replicate the form of last season, he's actually a great FPL asset. So let me know in the comments down below, do you guys have Harry Kane in your latest draft? Do you have Mo Salah in your latest draft? Or like myself in the final draft video, I had none of them. But let's get on to the actual team selection. I'm going to start off on our bench, and luckily we actually do have a couple of 4.0 defender options, and the two that I've selected are going to be Baldock as well as Kabore. Now I want to give a shout out here to Bayer from Burnley. He's another kind of 4.0 that you guys can get on your bench, as he seems pretty nailed. Now between all the 4.0s, not much kind of between them. Yes, Kabore might be playing as a wingback, so more attacking, but I do expect Luton to kind of concede a few. Trust Sheffield United and Burnley slightly more, but I've kind of gone for a safe option and a more attacking one with Baldock and Kabore. In terms of our 4.0 goalkeeper, Turner from Arsenal, his transfer to Nottingham Forest should be confirmed quite quickly. But they are looking to add Dean Henderson as well, so I don't expect Turner to actually be between the sticks. But at the current moment, it's between him and Areola, but I am a little bit scared of Areola's ownership because he might drop in price when the casuals transfer him out. But still, I'm going to stick with a 4.0, currently it's going to be Turner, and fingers crossed that if they don't sign Dean Henderson, he's actually the main goalkeeper. Then the final forward to go over, currently Mubama from West Ham looks like the most nailed to get potential minutes, but I wouldn't rely on these assets to actually get any points. So they simply he has a placeholder, his ownership isn't that high, currently 7%, so the price drop might not come that quickly. But if I do get a little bit worried about the price drop, I currently do have Surridge in my squad. He was removed from the Premier League and FPL as a whole because he moved to the MLS. But if you guys did manage to get him in before he was removed, he's going to be price locked for the entire season. So conclusion to the bench, my goalkeeper and my forward I'm not super confident in, but the 4.0 defenders might be nice entries to a stacked starting 11. Now the way I'm going to go over this team is as if I was building a draft myself. I'm not going to go kind of position by position, I'm going to go for the more essential options down to the decisions. So the first player I want to go over, and probably the permanent captain for the opening fixtures, is me Erling Haaland from Man City. Now I know the Community Shield game wasn't too great, the Norwegian had an XG of I think 0.00, which you never like to see. But this kind of happened last season. He missed a ton of chances in the Community Shield against Liverpool, then game week 1 he banged a hattie against West Ham. So even at 14.0 million, I think he's good value for money if we're going to captain him a lot, and he's my first essential pick. Now let's gravitate to the midfield department, and my next essential pick is going to be Marcus Rashford at 9.0 million, currently might be playing up front as an out of position midfielder as Haaland is currently injured. So that's enough for me to kind of prefer him over someone like a Bruno. If you guys watched the video yesterday, his XG is a lot better than Bruno's, who tends to sit on the XA side of things. But if you guys can't afford Rashford, Bruno is a fine alternative, but I do prefer the English international if you guys can afford him. Then talking about kind of England internationals, the next one, Bukayo Saka at 8.5 million from Arsenal. Now I know, the stats aren't the best, Martinelli and Odegaard both have better performances, but the fact that he's nailed in on penalties makes him a good selection at this price point. So I would kind of label Saka at least as an essential pick, but what I would probably say is at least own one Arsenal midfielder. If you guys do prefer Martinelli, Odegaard, that's 100% fine, but I'm going to go with the template pick of Saka. So to be honest, these three selections are my more essential picks. I think that you guys can go for anyone else, but these three I'd probably stick with. So in the nature of that statement, let's go over our goalkeeper, defenders, and then complete our midfielder and our forwards. So the goalkeeper of choice, because we've had to kind of save a bit of cash, I've gone for a 4.5, and my favorite 4.5 is me Johnston from Crystal Palace. So Johnston had great stats. If you guys watched my kind of the best goalkeeper video, had a very high kind of save points as well as low XG conceded. But just remember, that is because Crystal Palace had easy fixtures towards the end of last season. So when Johnston came into the side, didn't have the kind of most hectic schedule, and therefore was able to perform pretty well. But I'm still willing to back him even against the tougher teams. I think that Crystal Palace always keep a low amount of XG, and Johnston likes to make 1 or 2 saves. So there might be other 4.5s out there. I think a Pickford is pretty popular, and I have gone a little bit cold on Steele from Brighton. The only reason for that is that he was subbed in preseason at the 45-minute mark, and De Zerbi might actually rotate his goalkeepers quite a bit. So I'm going for safety security here from game week 1, Johnston between the sticks, as I think that he is the main choice. Now back 3 is pretty template, to be honest. I've got Ben Shaw here at 5.5 million. I do think he's kind of a standout pick as a defender, just because of his attacking threat. During preseason, Pochettino has been quite vocal on his attacking fullbacks. Ben Shaw's even stated in interviews that he likes getting forward, and that's exactly what he's allowed to do in this position. So I know that they do face Liverpool in game week 1, not the kind of best fixture in the world, but from game week 2 onwards, especially from game week 3 onwards, the fixtures look pretty strong. Now I think there might be a little bit of debate here between Reece James and Ben Shaw. Reece James does have better attacking stats, but I do think Ben Shaw is slightly less injury prone, but I think both should do pretty well. Shaw is definitely the more template pick though. If you guys doing a good differential, would recommend Reece James, but currently I'm sticking with Shaw. Then the next 2 options are as template as it gets. I'm not going to go over them in too much detail because I've spoken about these 2 players so much in my previous drafts. It's Gabriel and also Stupinan. So both players come in at a lovely price of 5.0 million. I consider them to be underpriced and very good value, and that's why both of them are in my back 3. And I would probably prefer Zinchenko over Gabriel now that I've looked at the stats, but unfortunately he's going to be injured, so I have to make do and put Gabriel in my draft. Whereas with the Stupinan obviously offers that more attacking threat as a fullback, and although the Brighton fixtures do get quite tough, I still trust them at the end of the day. So I generally think this back three will probably remain for a few game weeks now, unless there are obvious injuries. Now we're going to go in and complete our midfield department, and I've actually got two 6.5s here. The first one is Matoma from Brighton. I know they've just made a couple of new attacking signings, but Matoma should be pretty nailed in that lineup, as it seems like the new signings won't play left wing. So let's hope the Japanese international keeps at the stats of last season. His XG, XA were pretty strong, and as you guys would have known, he's a massive dribbler. So an absolute baller, so hopefully he'll be a baller for our FPL teams, as his price is pretty cheap. Now like a Stupinan, the Brighton fixtures do get tough after game week 3, but they are a great attacking side and they can simply score against anyone. So for the time being, I do like Matoma over a Solly March just because of the aforementioned rotation concerns that might come with all those attackers. Then our next 6.5 is pretty tempered. It's going to be Mbumo, currently returned to training after a dead leg that took him off in preseason, so he should be fit and firing to play in game week 1. Now personally, he's my favourite 6.5 at the current moment. I just feel like without Ivan Toney, yes they are weaker from an attacking point of view, but Mbumo can have the opportunity of being a talisman. Penalties are up in the question as well. He should be taking them if they do win one, which is obviously a massive advantage. So these two 6.5s do facilitate the fact that we got a second premium, and that's obviously going to be Harry Kane up front. Now the reason my first draft is going to be Harry Kane and not Mo Salah is that I currently do prefer him because of the lack of forward options that we currently have. So if you guys are following the news, Nkunku's going to be missing the start of the season and a couple of months after the knee injury was actually worse than expected. So besides Nkunku, we then have Nicholas Jackson. Don't really like him as I feel like without Nkunku, the creativity takes a little bit of a spiral. So the minutes might be up, but I think the attacking threat is going to be down. So yes, he might be a fine option to go for, but currently I'm a little bit off him. And that's why I had Ollie Watkins in my first draft. So nothing against Ollie Watkins, but he's not the most exciting pick in the world. A great asset though, very consistent. Under Emery, Aston Villa looked pretty decent. But if I can afford to get Harry Kane up front, that's obviously a massive improvement. So just based off the fact that the forward options aren't that great and the midfielder options are plentiful, I've gone for Harry Kane over Mo Salah for the first team. So the money that's left in the bank for a midfielder is going to be exactly 6.5, and that's why I'm going to put Eze in the midfield department to complete it. Now I'll be showing you guys a variation with Mo Salah shortly, but just keep this in mind, Eze plus Harry Kane versus whatever Mo Salah and forward we get. I know Eze is some people's kind of favourite 6.5, going to be a talisman with Elise missing the start of the season, and he might even depart the club with the transfer. You know that Wolf Zaha left the club, went to Galatasaray, so if Crystal Palace are to be attacking, it's literally based on Eze. But like Matoma, an absolute baller, always love watching him, and his preseason returns have been pretty decent. So in terms of the overall team structure, had to go for 3 6.5s in the midfield department, but I can't really complain about any of them. We now also have Harry Kane up front, which is a massive addition, and could even be a differential captain if you don't like Erling Haaland's fixtures. But like promised, let's now go over a Salah alternative that you guys might like more. So taking both those options out the team, we can't afford Harry Kane and Mo Salah unfortunately, so you'll be departing our club as well as Eze, as I do prefer Matoma and Mbuma at the moment. So let's pencil in Mo Salah in the midfield department, 12.5 million, exact same price as Harry Kane, and therefore we do have 6.5 to spend on a forward. So there's kind of two options to go for here. The first option is Visa from Brentford, but I might not want to double up on that Brentford attack, so let's make the most of those lovely Brighton fixtures. So I'm going to put João Pedro at 5.5 here, so obviously we are left with 1.0 in the bank, and I do apologise for the Watford shirt. The Premier League hasn't updated its player pictures, so I'm just going to stick Watford João Pedro in here, but obviously he does play for Brighton. Now he took a penalty in the last preseason game while Gross was on the field, which does lead me to believe that he's going to be the penalty taker for Brighton. Added to that 6.5 million, not the most expensive price tag in the world, and as long as he starts or gets valuable minutes off the bench, I think that he could be an absolute steal. So comparing these two options, we've got Mo Salah and João Pedro versus Harry Kane and Eze. On paper, it does look like Kane and Eze are a much better selection, but I guess you are offered the 1 million to do some upgrades. Let me know in the comments down below, which draft do you guys prefer? Do you prefer the Harry Kane versus Mo Salah draft? And would you actually make any changes to both of them? One thing that you could actually do for Mo Salah is you could downgrade João Pedro to a 4.5 forward. You could then go for a 4-5-1 if you wanted to, with someone like a Stones in the defensive department. That could be a selection to go for, but doesn't offer you the most flexibility, as two 4.5 forwards on the bench isn't too nice. So having said that the Kane draft looks slightly better, let's now go back to it to show you the fixtures for the upcoming Game Week 1. So in terms of our bench department, we have Turner as Arsenal if he does make the move to Nottingham Forest. Obviously won't play him over at Johnston, who is Sheffield United away. Now if you guys did watch the video yesterday, you'll know that this fixture had the best rating in terms of a 0-0. Sheffield United and Crystal Palace, it was a good defensive fixture for both of them, as I can't really see too much XG on either side. So if Bardock does come off the bench, could be an absolute steal if this game does end 0-0, but let's hope that our starting 11 actually features. The rest of the defensive department, obviously Shaw against Liverpool at home isn't the best kind of defensive one, but you guys know that Liverpool's wings are quite susceptible to the attack. So maybe Ben Shaw can make most of that vulnerability, as I think attacking returns are the only chance of points in this one. Whereas Gabriel and Estupiñán, I think there's a chance of a clean sheet here. Estupiñán obviously offers that attacking threat, but I'm looking forward to points hopefully from both of them. Then going on to midfield department, I've got Rashford against Wolves at home, not the best kind of attacking fixture, but if I was to do a prediction, probably 2-0 to United. So let's hope that Rashford is involved in both of those goals, because that would be quite nice, and let's hope that Bruno stays quiet. The exact same scenario can happen with Saka. A lot of people have doubled up on that midfield department from Arsenal, with Saka plus Martinelli or Saka plus Odegaard. So let's hope that Saka does cover the majority of those Arsenal points, because this fixture is a great one against Nottingham Forest at home. Then Matoma, great fixture on paper. I think it's one of the best attacking fixtures, and Fix also agreed with me. Fix did say that Mbeumo has a good attacking fixture as well against Spurs at home, and I think this might be off the fact that Spurs weren't great defensively last season. With the new manager in preseason, they've also been quite attacking, so I'm expecting goals from both of these sides. Then Eze's the same fixture as Johnston, Sheffield United away, not the best kind of attacking fixture, but as mentioned, he's the main talisman, and if they do score, he should be involved. Then Harry Kane is facing Mbeumo in that Brentford vs Spurs game, and as mentioned, both sides could probably score in this one, so let's hope for an absolute goal fest. Then the final option is going to be Erling Haaland against Burnley away, not the best fixture on paper, might not be the best Campsy fixture, but you guys know Erling Haaland, he's an absolute machine. So yes, I might be scared of the effective ownership, and that's why I'm not going for Saka at the moment in terms of my captain, but I think you guys can agree with me that Erling Haaland should probably do quite well. So overall, in terms of the fixtures, they do look pretty strong, but you guys would expect that. It's only game week 1, this is basically a wild card. If the bad fixtures were in the team, that means our drafts are doing something wrong. But comment down below, what's your latest draft that you guys are currently going with? Does it have Harry Kane in? Does it have Mo Salah in? Does it have neither in? You guys can post it in the comments, and I'll try to reply to everyone. Otherwise, thank you for all of you that have become YouTube members, especially you legends, and I'll be seeing everyone hopefully in the deadline stream coming up on Friday. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We still do have some preseason content coming up, so make sure those bell notifications are turned on. But I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.